Yo, what's up? It's Karn. I was over in Iceland recently and I got the chance to catch up with Michael Hannes, the developer and advocate for the cryptocurrency Aurora Coin, which is an Icelandic-based cryptocurrency. Mike and I got to sit down at a local hostel and chat about blockchain, Iceland, America, and life. Enjoy. Do a little zoom action. Oh, we're inside. I had no idea.
How's it going?
Hey! Alright, I'm here with Michael Hannes over in Reykjavik, Iceland. I think we're still in Reykjavik, right? Or are we outside of the city?
No, we're right on the border of Reykjavik and Seltjarnarnes in Oddsson Hostel. Yeah, it's a kind of a new hostel that's been built up here in the last few years. A lot of growth in tourism in the last few years.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. Alright, cool, man. My first question for you is, what is Aurora Coin?
Okay, so Aurora Coin is a cryptocurrency in the sense that it's not a utility token or a security token, but was originally forked from Litecoin, so it was always being intended to be used as a currency. It was first launched in January of 2014. This was just a few years after we had experienced the 2008 collapse. It was also designed by an anonymous coder, Baldur Frigga Olensen, and the total number of coins that were going to be ever created is 21 million. And actually 50% of the coins were pre-mined for distribution throughout the nation of Iceland. That's when there was a beginning of any kind of marketing efforts within Iceland to let Icelanders or make them more aware of the coin's continued development. And so Aurora Coin has been traded against the Krona for the last 2 years, both in buy and sell. And so Aurora Coin is still geared to be primarily used within Iceland. There are pockets of use around the world. We know that we have some folks in, I think, New Zealand or Australia. Got a lot of friends in the United States who have been looking into it since Acapulco earlier this year, which maybe we'll get into in a little bit. It's a digital currency designed for the nation of Iceland, primarily because one of the things that we deal with very heavily here is inflation. I mean, even in the last 5 years, many prices have gone up 100%. That's a big area of education that we need to address within Iceland. Inflation and I mean, we have, I don't know if you've been here for a few days, and we have a really what we consider a high quality of life here. I mean, we have a very safe environment, and wages are pretty well. We have a pretty strong social contract, as it's been described, with the government, as it were. So it really kind of takes a little bit of a calamity, a little bit of a crash to get people discussing these things when times are really, everything's going well, as it were. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You and I didn't meet in Acapulco.
Yeah, but that was how our, I guess, connection was laid. Do you want to talk about how me and you got in contact and who Pat Leach is?
I mean, first of all, I do want to mention that when you gave Jeff Berwick the interview, I was actually about just 15 feet away from you.
No way.
Yeah, and just kind of like listening in the background a little bit. I wasn't quite aware what was going on because I think I just got to the conference. There was a lot of stuff going on, right? There was the sumo wrestlers in the hall, and
so they're in the video. If you watch it, they're in the background.
Yeah. So. So I met Pat, who's also part of State of Anarchy, and we hit it off right away with our mutual interests in anarcho thought, which I'm a bit more of maybe a libertarian side, or a little bit more of a
minarchist?
Yeah, a minarchist. Yeah, I like that. Because I'm all for us being without rulers and free individuals, free men. But unfortunately, not everyone has this go-get-em attitude and self-sufficiency, right? Yeah. And maybe perhaps because I've been living in Iceland for 6 years now, there's this this sense of like having being able to taking care of the community, taking care of others, and I know there's room for that within the anarchist movement, but I just haven't wrapped my mind around it per se. So it's. I think we have a little bit of ways to go as far as how things are going to unfold. But what I really like about this space, about Acapulco, about like what we're seeing in all areas of life, is that people with disparate kind of beliefs or religious beliefs or I don't want to say political leanings, but sure, why not? We're able to kind of like sit down, at least have discussions about what's what's gone wrong and how we've been, misled, straight out lied to from practically birth, and how this money system that everyone relies on really is just, floating pieces of IOU floating around. So, and that's what's the great thing about cryptocurrency, because it offers like a tangible solution, and the efficiencies that come along with integrating software and currencies together. I mean, it provides a lot of hope for how we can kind of direct things. But yeah, so Acapulco was great. I'm looking forward to next year as well.
As am I.
Yeah.
Hey, so I'm really curious before I came here, because back in America, I would say like over the past decade when I was following, my international news that I follow, I was just like enthralled by hearing that Iceland a few years ago jailed their bankers. Can you tell me what that whole ordeal was, maybe what caused it, and where we are now?
I mean, well, the Krona came about, we obtained our complete freedom from Denmark. It was around when World War II was occurring, and so I think Denmark had already been taken over by Germany, and so they had other things to deal with. And so we kind of like slipped in our independence call, and we've had the kroner since. But just like the dollar, its value has deteriorated to just a few percent of what it was originally worth, compared against gold or silver. And so we've been a self-ruled nation for 60 years. And the situation with the banks is they were publicly owned banks. We started moving into private banks, and the issue with the bankers, and that's the same in the United States, the same in England as well, is that in lots of cases they're actually working within the framework of the law. It's just that the law is catered towards their interests, and they're able to get away with things like offshore accounts and manipulating numbers to promote a healthy economy when that's not occurring. But there were some bankers here that were working outside the framework of that situation. So there were some that went to jail for short periods of time, but they were still allowed to leave on the weekends. And even I think one of them actually, going back to jail one weekend, he crashed his private helicopter before he got back to his holdings. Because within Iceland, we don't have a very strict punitive legal system, right? So. For example, if someone's caught driving while intoxicated, right? We generally speaking, they're taken down to the police station and given a blood test so they can determine the level of alcohol in their blood, and then they're let out, free to go, to come back the next day, pick up their car keys, and basically continue on with their life while of course they're going to have to deal with this infraction, but. Generally speaking, here in Iceland, we try not to punish people unduly for the mistakes that they've made. So we also have kind of a bit of a forgiving nature. Furthermore, we have a very small society. 1/1000th of the population of the United States. Here in Reykjavik, we have like 125,000 people. The majority of Icelanders are related to like the 10th generation. We go to the swimming pools with politicians. Icelandic famous and even worldwide famous musicians, and so we know that these people that are bankers, the economists that are in the politicians as well, they're kind of like our kids' playmates' parents, right? So yeah, long story short, we did jail some of the bankers for a small period of time, but unfortunately, a lot of the infractions that have occurred have been more of a moral versus legal infractions, right? And that's kind of something that we're facing within the world, right? Greed is one of the major problems that the world is facing, and I think everyone kind of goes through a period of time when they're greedy, and you sometimes have to learn some tough lessons, but you realize that greed doesn't benefit anyone, and actually compassionate giving and peace and love and understanding is really what keeps this world moving in the right direction.
That's so true, man.
Whether the world's moving or not, That's,
yeah. So on that note of peace and love, I actually have another interesting question, because I'm sure all of my friends in America and other westernized nations who know enough about Iceland are wondering, how do you guys deal with all the terrorists and everything without your military? I mean, how do you protect yourselves? How does
Terrorist.
society
I think I hear.
collapse?
I don't know. I've heard that word on the BBC in some context. What was it? Oh, that's right. The Icelanders. We were called terrorists. That was back in the 2008 crash when our banks failed overseas, and we didn't want to give the banks a free bailout, and so the Prime Minister of London called us terrorists. But no, I mean, we don't really have any terrorists here except for those people that, selfish terrorists, I mean, yeah, we don't have any military. The police are, don't go around looking for problems. We have somewhat of a self-managed society. I mean, like I said, we are a forgiving people, but we're emboldened to step in and confront situations that come up, right? So I mean, yeah, why are there no terrorists in Iceland?
How come you guys are so happy and everything's so nice and free,
yeah.
and all this extra money that doesn't get spent on imperialism just seems to go to you guys?
That's right. We have our Coast Guard, but those are mostly making sure that the fishing boats are and the fishing waters are being protected, and I mean, of course, we have some illicit importation, smuggling and stuff going on. I guess the other thing too is that we are a remote island in the north, and so immigration is much more manageable here. Not to say that immigrants are terrorists or terrorists are immigrants, but when we have such a small society like this, of course it's going to be easier to manage how the population goes. And I think that's why there's a lot of state sovereignty in the United States. I grew up in Texas. Is such a powerful idea, and the idea that that each county's sheriff is the highest police officer within a county, which is an elected position, Yeah. So I think there's a lot of things that that citizens of the United States can do, and ironically, actually, both Iceland and the United States are constitutional republics. I don't really know what happened in the United States with, just coming down to the two-party system. I mean, it wasn't so long ago that each electoral college member in each state could vote for who their constituents were going for. There was none win the whole state. So I think when we look at local control, whether it's here in Iceland, there's actually 10 or 11 counties, as it were, within Iceland. Of course, the county around Reykjavik being the largest, but so we try not to forget the smaller jurisdictions, and because there is a better representation in our constitutional republic form of government. I think we have 5, 6, or 7 different parties represented within our national parliament. So that's really nice.
It's better than the one-party system we have in America.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the Republicrats.
Republicrats.
Yeah.
Demopublicans, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I mean, it's, again, it's I'm not really sure what goes on in the dark crevices of Washington D.C., but I know it's not pretty, and I know that if you're not towing the line, it could be dangerous for yourself and for your family, and so there's some really dark elements that really kind of needs to come up in all these debates as well. I think. I mean, it's a tough one. I truly believe that we're not actually at war with each other against other humans. We're not battling against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and wickedness in dark places. Whether it's fallen angels or dark archons. We know that there's something that attacks the human heart, and lots of times that's when we don't really have a strong social fabric, and unfortunately, that a lot of that comes from inequality, and a lot of it comes from working under a failed financial system. I mean, we've seen areas in the world that have freer or more liberal financial policies, or even just the access to financial tools. That the life expectancy goes up, birth rate expectancy goes up. Level of education goes up, so it's really important to empower people with the ability to conduct finances fairly.
So my next question for you is, can you tell me about the Icelandic Blockchain Foundation and your involvement in it, and what their aims and goals and actions are?
The Aurora Coin Foundation earlier this year in March became the Icelandic Blockchain Foundation. And the reason we made that change was to kind of cast a larger net over Iceland, bringing in more developers, bringing in basically higher visibility to the Aurora Coin project and blockchain projects in general, right? Because we realized that there was a great need for an organization covering all of the different aspects of blockchain technology in Iceland. So the Icelandic Blockchain Foundation, of which Aurora Coin is one of the working groups within the foundation, it works as an advocate for the various communities. So it has legal and legislative involvement, and are actively working with politicians and business people and some bank contacts to kind of keep help the framework within Iceland grow. They've been actively involved in going to conferences, and just recently the ISX exchange, which has been functioning for 2 years, has become the first cryptocurrency exchange that's licensed by the financial management authorities here in Iceland. So we're seeing some important steps towards the integration of blockchain and cryptocurrency exchanges into the financial legislative framework within Iceland. So that's very important. So the Aurora Coin Foundation under the Icelandic Blockchain Foundation now has its visibility and viability has increased greatly. And so that's the mission for the foundation, is to help promote all blockchain activities within Iceland.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And Aurora Coin being a big one of those.
Yeah, and it was it's what provided funding for the foundation. So there's definitely a special place in the heart of everyone here in the foundation. And and it's actually brought a lot of some new life back to Aurora Coins. We're attracting some more developers and various people within the city to get involved. I actually started an online website called Aurora Coin 101. We're just starting to launch that. I mean, everything's functional on there, but me personally, I've been trying to build community awareness, get merchants on board. We're able to walk them through the process of how they're accepting coins, how they're going to work with the exchanges, and dealing with issues with fluctuations in the price. And we don't want to. What happened 4 years ago when the Aurora Coin came out, there was a lot of hype. There was a lot of coins that were being put in the market, but there wasn't enough infrastructure within the ecosystem. Now we have an iOS wallet under the Coinami application, which is very important because Iceland is primarily iOS users. So basically, the foundation. What's really interesting is that for the first time since blockchain has been being used worldwide, Iceland has this momentum building with the Blockchain Foundation and interest. So yeah, it's really exciting times.
That's awesome. So it sounds like that foundation is integral in sort of bringing this crypto community awareness to Iceland.
That's right, and especially with advocacy in government is really important.
Yeah, and see, that's kind of the interesting thing, is that it seems to be a lot more plausible, because when me and you went to the pool yesterday and we're chilling in geothermal waters, enjoying ourselves, there were politicians hanging out right across the pond.
Yeah, and that particular one's, interestingly enough, I was in the foundation last week and having just a quick impromptu meeting. But it was cut short by that one politician coming in and having a talk. So it's really exciting to see that level of. And I know they also had a meeting with one of the high ministers within the government recently, and explaining how the foundation is not promoting any particular coin per se, but working on building the environment in general. Yeah, within Iceland. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I have questions for you personally now. Can you tell me why you got involved with Aurora Coin and what your vision is for it?
Well, okay, so I feel like I've been a very lucky, blessed guy, and coming back to Iceland 6 years ago. I was born here and grew up in the States. Grew up in Texas, went to the University of Texas and got a management information systems degree. So I've been working with computer programs even since I was a young teenager. And I've worked for big six accounting firms, large corporations, but I've also worked with a lot of mom and pop businesses, helping them get databases running their businesses. And so I just happened to kind of get in Iceland in the right time to hear what's going on with Aurora Coin. I opened up a little shop. I was accepting cryptocurrencies. And when that ended, this was right around 2 years ago when the algos were being changed and ISX was occurring, and just right before the Vice documentary was shot, Motherboard Vice. So that was actually really nice. So I got pulled back into the Aurora Coin world again. So I worked on a couple of the tools that are being used. Right now I'm kind of doing a lot of analysis on mining and hash rate, and also building tools for merchants to, I mean, some of these things are in development right now, but what I see for long term is I kind of want to be a little bit of a leader in how we can, okay, for example, I want to set up some funds and really demonstrate to people how voluntarism can work, where using multi-sig technology, we can start setting up secure funds and encourage this voluntarism of giving. The thing about Aurora Coin is that it's like the best Icelandic branded blockchain asset that we have. And it provides like just this great sandbox, functional sandbox. I mean, we've had like $250,000 worth of volume on Bittrex this last month. We're up 50%. We make the top 3 list every now and then. Somehow it's still quite a profitable mining coin. We have our developers that just released a new version of the core wallet functionality, core wallet just this week, first one in a year. So it's such a great sandbox for developers and for business owners, economists to see how a functioning blockchain works as it's being integrated into the Icelandic community. So that's my hope of involvement in the coin, is to kind of bring my experience that I have working with businesses, finding solutions and novel ideas to help incorporate technology and finance, and try to be a leader in how cryptocurrencies not only make the holders of coins wealthy, which I'm not by any means, well, not financially. Obviously, I'm Icelandic wealthy and family and friends and everything. But I see a future where the whole community benefits by the increased value of digital currencies, which is going to happen over time. I mean, we don't exactly know when the next inflationary bubble is going to happen, the next crash. But I'm hoping that our efforts can help soften the blow for kind of like get enough momentum going. Hopefully, try to hit some kind of critical mass before this occurs, and have kind of incorporate this as a softer landing spot for the economy and for people, and you know. Like I said, in Iceland, it's a really unique place because we take care of our children, we take care of our older folks, and it's really just an issue of having the right people involved, the right ideas, the right planning, and it's really exciting because all of this is kind of all happening at the same time. And fortunately, Aurora Coin has really been an interesting little success story.
All right, so it looks like, from what I can tell, summer seems to be coming to a close. It's still pretty nice, but starting to, get a little nippy. So what are your guys' short-term plans as far as Aurora Coin and maybe the foundation?
Well, I think what's really interesting, the Northern Lights are coming back, right? So the Aurora Borealis is coming back. Hopefully that's a sign for how what's going to be going on with the Aurora Coin. So right now it's basically, I think we're going, we need to continue educating the public on the dangers of relying strictly on fiat currencies. And I mean, the days of keeping your money underneath a mattress are long gone. I mean, Icelanders here, people do invest quite a bit in real estate, or at least in owning their own homes. So I think it's just an issue of educating people of how, for the first time in 400 years, we have financial tools that allow us to break free of central banks and central management and central ledgers. And this really empowers them if they're willing to participate a bit, right? So we have to educate there.
Can you explain to everyone the saying that you told me yesterday, what it is and what it means and how it might relate?
So yeah, the saying that we have here is "Þetta reddast." It'll work out itself, it'll take care of itself. So that does definitely play on our kind of, we do have a little bit of a chilled quality of life here, right? I mean, why stress out about things that you don't have any control over, right? Parents don't get arrested for letting their kids play in the park unattended, yeah. Right? You know, we enjoy our time with friends. We enjoy, you know, quality food. You know, there's that part of Thetaretas is really nice, and it applies to the business community as well. You know, we have our, you know, fundamentals of how society works, and but yeah, we'll see how blockchain unfolds here in Iceland. You know, and Thetaretas, you know, it'll take care of itself.
Well, Thetaretas is becoming my new life motto, and I'm so glad I met you and got to learn a little bit more about Iceland and the community, the culture, and what you guys are doing, because it's really powerful, man. It really is.
Yeah, I'm really glad I had this opportunity to talk with you. Now I know two of you guys, you know.
All right, man. Well, yeah, look, I'll see you at an Acapulco in Mexico this year. We're going to have a blast.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to it.